Hi, I'm Hannah of the Better Bean Company, and we're at the Seattle VegFest today. And I am here talking about non-GMO movement, the non-GMO movement. So us as a company, we recently went through the non-GMO verification process. It was a year-long process for us, and honestly it cost us about $5,000, which is a lot of money for a small company. And we're lucky because we work closely with farmers and we know where they come from, but some of our producers are so small that it was really hard for them to get the documentation in. So when I think about the non-GMO movement and the fact that Monsanto knows exactly who buys their seeds, and all the farmers who grow non-GMO crops know that they're growing a genetically modified organism, they should be putting it on their labels rather than putting the onus on us, these small companies, to try and prove it so that we can have this certification. I'm really happy to be part of the Non-GMO Project verification movement and their whole culture, but it's a lot of work for small companies to do when the farmers, these big farmers, they know what they're doing, they know what they're planting. I want to see in Washington, in Oregon, in California, nationwide, a labeling movement and labeling regulations so that we can have it on all of our packaging very clearly marked. I have been politicized around GEs and GMOs, genetically engineered crops, since I was in middle school. I actually, for a website project, made a website about the controversy, and there was very little information about it at that time in the late 1990s. And about a few years later, Oregon had its first labeling ballot measure come up, and we were winning. We had a great movement. People had lawn signs up all over. There was great rallies at the state capitol, and then some big agribusiness spent a bunch of money on TV ads that showed farmers and families and said, "This bill will hurt our family farmers and will make food more expensive for you." We didn't have the money to put ads back on the television to counter that and say, actually, if you're consuming genetically modified organisms without knowing it, you could be poisoning your body. You're already poisoning our streams and our soil, and I mean, basically ruining our land, our beautiful, wonderful arable land for the future. And so it didn't pass. It failed, and it was so sad. I was devastated at that point, and has since then spent a lot of time learning about genetically modified organisms and all that Monsanto does. And so if you're not aware, Monsanto uses this idea that they're going to create a genetically engineered rice that has vitamin A in it so that people in Asia will no longer have malnutrition. This is a vitamin that they lack in a lot of their diets. And so, oh, it'll be so great and we'll help feed the world with genetically modified foods. The truth of the matter is they're only engineering foods so that they can be tolerant to their Roundup Ready poison, which is a herbicide that kills everything except for these plants that have been genetically modified to be resistant to it. They go inside of the genes of these plants and alter them, splice in other genetic strands, mutate the genes so that they can be sprayed with a poison, and a natural living thing can be sprayed with a poison and not die. It's crazy. It's really upsetting, and the fact of the matter is there's not enough science on it. We don't know how it affects our bodies, and we need to study this and watch for a whole generation before this should be legalized. And we're not asking, you know, to ban them as we should be. We're just asking to know, to be labeled, to be able to know what's in our food. It's completely fair. And you know, these you know, whoever's in our federal government, you know, they're all market focused. Like, let the market do its work. Tell us, the public, what is in our food, and we'll decide. We will shop. We will use our dollars to decide. Let the market decide what they want, what we want in our food. Better Bean exists to help people eat more beans. We want to see our world eat more healthfully. That's why we got the non-GMO verification. That's why we don't put anything weird in our products. They're all clean ingredients. Everything you know, you've read it, you've seen it before. Red beans, tomatillos, apple cider vinegar, sea salt. You know these ingredients. It's not these things that you can't pronounce. So we're out there selling a refrigerated, ready-to-eat beans so that people can get beans that are fresh, full of nutrients, BPA-free. That's a whole other story, and we need labeling on that one and banning on that one too. Just like GMOs, we're not really sure what these chemicals and the plastics are doing to us. We need to be aware. We need to educate. You need to educate yourself. And so I'm super excited that Washington has a ballot measure, I-522, for labeling GMOs in Washington state. But here's the deal. Oregon legislators have 5 or 4 bills in the House right now, and we may be the first state to label GMOs. So we might beat you there. So Washington, get on it, get your movement going, tell all your neighbors, make it happen. We need to change this. This is our movement. This isn't just even about GMOs and knowing what's in our food. This is changing the way food is grown in the United States. We want food to be grown sustainably with love, thinking about the natural environment around us, the streams downriver, the workers. The thing that's so bad about GMOs, again, is all the pesticides and herbicides used in cultivating these crops. Who does that affect? The farm workers. They get this on their skin. They drink out of buckets that have been used for pesticide before. You know, the farm workers have the highest incident of cancer, I think, than anybody else in the United States. You'll have to check me on that one. But seriously, these poor people who are feeding America are getting pesticide poisoning every single day just so that you can have a cheap corn chip or a cheap bottle of Coca-Cola filled with corn syrup. Look and see how often you find a corn product in your food. It's everywhere, and that is all genetically modified corn. Ethanol, too? That's not going to solve anything. That's actually, it's an energy loss when it comes down to it. It's not a sustainable solution. We should not be growing ethanol for our cars. We need to conserve instead. We don't need to be driving around. Ride your bicycle. Get healthy, you know, be outside, eat healthy, get healthy, exercise your body, eat a plant-based diet. That's what Better Bean is all about. We want to help people eat healthfully, have a clear mind. When we have these chemicals, these poisons coming into our body, we don't think clearly. We're foggy, we're bamboozled or by all this stuff. So I really appreciate you stopping by the booth. This has been really wonderful talking to you about this initiative and our growing movement. Look at all the people here around me. It's amazing to see all these people coming out for eating healthfully, vegetarian, plant-based diets, and they all care about GMOs. They've done studies actually, and the majority of America would not eat genetically modified organisms if they knew it was in their food. That's why these companies are so scared. That's why they don't want labeling, because they know we don't want it in our food, because we know that it's hurting our bodies, it's affecting our children, it's helping them grow up, and you know, we wonder about all these allergies that our kids are having, autism, all these new diseases that my parents' generation never really experienced. Where is this coming from? It's our food. It's these hyper-processed foods, all these chemicals. We don't know. We need to go back to clean, sustainably raised foods.